Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. As I always say, patience is a virtue, still is a virtue. Unfortunately, we have to wait for the truth to travel the world, and by that time, the lie traveled and encircled the world like 50,000 times. By the time the truth circles it one time. So what happened? We find out that the great news, the fantastic secret, CIA has 12 secret facilities in Ukraine, has been operating it for years. Is that a secret to you? It's not a secret to me, but we got some details. So after exactly 10 years, since 2014, the CIA and MI6 have been training and having facilities, bases, military bases, secret bases, that's how they call them. Let me get, yes, secret bases in Ukraine. Is that a surprise? No, it's not a surprise. We got details, that's all that we got. Now they come clean and say, hey, actually, we've been operating 12 secret CIA bases. Let me start with, I have two articles. Let me start with the first one coming from Sputnik and the other one from the Ukrainians. They both cite New York Times. So, must be true. Sputnik, 7 hours ago, today on the 25th of February 2024, Sunday. CIA set up 12 secret facilities in Ukraine along Russian border over 8-year period. Well, I don't know if it's 8 or it's 10, but let's move on. American intelligence agencies reportedly collaborated closely with their Ukrainian counterparts, no surprise here, providing training to operatives conducting missions in Russia, Europe, Cuba, and other areas with an active Russian presence. So, the 12 secret locations constitute forward operating bases, from which networks of agents gathering intel inside Russia will run. The CIA is said to have overseen a training program known as Operation Goldfish to train Ukrainian intel agents to assume fake identities and work to steal secrets in Russia and to operate as, quote-unquote, trained sleeper agents when they're going to be activated, to wage guerrilla war against the Russian military. Now, is this just a way of scaring the Russians? I think the Russians already know. I don't know how much details they have on these guys, and if they have a lot of details, they will not tell us. Because once they tell us, yes, we are aware of that, CIA will change. And you don't want to change, you want to let him be over there. Like in the Second World War, if the Brits would have told, and the Americans would have told, yes, we have the Enigma decoder, the Germans would have changed it. But they didn't change it because they didn't know. So, all right, let's move on. American intelligence agents reportedly worked closely with Ukrainian personnel, including the chief of the main intelligence directorate of the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense, Kirill Budanov, before his appointment to his current position. As I said, when you are part of CIA, doors will open, promotion will come first, and you will be appointed and you will be pushed forward. That's why many people who are trained, let's put it, no, educated, that's what, educated in the West, with, scholarship, fellowships, when they return to their country, they shoot up, not because they're intelligent and everybody says, oh my God, this guy's a Western educated individual. No. When they were overseas, those things that they received to go over there, it was like a training session. You're going to do this, you're going to do this, that's how we do it, you're going to blah, 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 sign here, sign there, we're going to send you back, these are your contact people, you will be contacted by these guys, that guys, wait for that, and your goal is, we'll let you know. All right? Now, here, let's move on. Let's go to the other article coming from Ukrainska Pravda. CIA maintains, right now, 12 secret bases in Ukraine. CIA head was in Kiev last week, New York Times. Sunday, 25th of February, 2024. All right. This is William Burns, and the other one is Christopher Wray, the CIA, wasn't he? The U.S. Central Intelligence, CIA, maintains 12 secret bases in Ukraine along the border with Russia, and last Thursday, CIA Chief William Burns made his 10th secret visit, not anymore, to Ukraine since the start of Russia's full-scale invasion. The source is New York Times, based on more than 200 interviews with current and former officials in Ukraine, the United States, and Europe. The New York Times reports that before the full-scale war, the Ukrainians provided themselves to the Americans by collecting, intercepting, proved themselves to the Americans by collecting intercepted data that helped prove Russian involvement in the downing of the Malaysia. Okay, around 2016, the CIA began training an elite Ukrainian special forces unit known as Unit 2245, which captured Russian drones and communications equipment so that CIA technicians could reverse engineer them and crack Moscow encryption systems. According to the New York Times, one of the officials in this unit was the current head of the Defense Intelligence, Kirill Budanov, their man. So imagine that you have a country that has a top spy guy and he works for a different country. Basically, he works for a different agency. You don't think he works for that? Do you think he just is a partner? Well, you either are about 16, because if you grow older than 16, you should know that that's not true, or you just either tired, or maybe, I don't know, you just live in denial. What can I say? You should know these things. Do you think that the partners help them or use them? Which one is the right term? Anyway, my friends, pay attention. Just pay attention to names, look at their education, and look how fast some of them shoot up. I'm going to give you one example, and I always give it the lowest hanging fruit that I always speak, because it's easy even for the baboons to understand. Mr. Saakashvili. Remember Saakashvili, the former president of Georgia? Look at his trajectory. He's not the only one. He's not the only one. That is the easiest way. I'm not saying he is, but well, look around. The CIA also helped train a new generation of Ukrainian spies who worked in Russia, throughout Europe, and in Cuba. What do you think the Americans got in return? CIA, we just help because we are good-hearted? Are you crazy? And other places where Russians have a significant presence. According to the New York Times, the details of the partnership between the Ukrainians and American intelligence agency have been a closely guarded secret for a decade. That we all knew. Oh, thank you very much. All, if you just pay attention, you knew. All right, it's not that the Russians called me and told me, hey, Emil, let me give you this. They did this. Oh, yeah, really? Thank you very much. Now, these intelligence, I'm quoting, networks are more important than ever, as Russia is on the offensive and Ukraine is more dependent on sabotage and long-range missile strikes that require spies far behind enemy lines, and they are increasingly at risk. Okay, now we're gonna blame these guys. Move on. The New York Times reports that a partnership between the CIA and Defense Intelligence of Ukraine, DIU, began in late February. I told you, 10 years. February 2014, when former President Viktor Yanukovych fled. We just left the country, said, fuck you guys, I'm gonna go in Tahiti. No. All right. Coup, remember that coup? Yeah, that's what he's fled. This cooperation was proposed by Valentin Papapap, who became the head of the Security Service of Ukraine. He just said, well, I propose you. And the Americans said, yeah, you know what? Yeah, I guess. What the hell? U.S. rules prohibited intelligence agencies from providing Ukraine with any support that could be reasonably expected to have lethal consequences. And do you think that U.S. rules are followed? Again, baboon, denial, or just, I don't know, uninformed? Which one is it? Uninformed, let's say ignorant. Which one is it? Baboon? Can't get it? The guy who gets it, but no, it's not that. Or the guy who's just, no, CNN did not confirm that, so it's not true. Okay, go and vote. Next. However, again, remember, the prohibited intelligence. CIA is the same thing in the work of KGB, MI6, Mossad. Okay, they're in the same business. What are you talking about? Oh, they will not do this. No, they will not do the rendition places. Remember those rendition places in Europe? Illegal. Remember the waterboarding in Europe? Illegal. Abducting people in Europe? Illegal. By whom? CIA fucking A. What are you talking about? They have rules. On the paper, yeah, they have rules. Like KGB had rules. They all have rules. My God. Okay, however, the red lines were never precisely clear. What have I told you? Creating constant tension in the partnership. In Kiev, this guy picked a long-time aide, General Valery Kondratyuk, to head the DIU, and they created a new paramilitary unit that was deployed behind the Russian aggressors' lines to conduct operations and gather intelligence that the CIA or MI6 could not provide. What do you mean behind the Russian aggressors' lines? 2016? Are you talking about your Ukrainians from Donbass? I guess. After an incident that occurred when Budanov's group entered Crimea in 2016, the Americans became very angry and threatened to close the program down. I don't believe that. After that, the then head of the CIA, John Brennan, oh my God, called General Kondratyuk to re-emphasize the red lines. Okay, the general was upset. It's our war and we got to fight, end quote. He replied, according to a colleague. According to the New York Times, Washington's reaction cost Kondratyuk his post. How? I thought they were partners. I'm going to read it again in case you missed it. After that, then the head of CIA, John Brennan, called General Kondratyuk to re-emphasize the red lines. That means we're not going to do this, and you are not going to do this because we told you so. And the guy said, it's our war and we got to fight. Oh, insubordination. He replied, according to a colleague. According to New York Times, Washington's reaction cost Kondratyuk his post, fired him. So Washington had so much power in their partnership that they got the general fired. So who's in charge of who again? Partner? Patna? Hey, Patna? Okay, all right. My friends, if you know something about the world, these things sound like, a poem that you learn in the 5th grade. Oh yeah, I remember those things. The New York Times notes that under Donald Trump's presidency, the CIA and DIU's cooperation expanded to include more specialized training programs and the constructions of additional secret bases. The relationship was so successful that the CIA wanted to replicate it with other European intelligence services that share common interest in countering Russia. That means we want to take over them too? Yeah, why not? We already took over politically, military, and economically. How about on the intelligence front? The head of the Russian House, the CIA department that oversees operations against Russia, organized a secret meeting in The Hague. The representatives of CIA, Britain's MI6, the DIU, and the Dutch service and other agencies agreed to pool their intelligence on Russia. So they got together, and the Russians were doing what? When was this? The result was a secret coalition against Russia, and the Ukrainians were important members of it. So the Ukrainians will do it. With the Ukrainians' lives and hearts, these guys are going to pull it off. When the Russians said that it's the collective West planning to attack them and push NATO forward, what these guys told us? Nah, that's crazy. No evidence. But we knew. We knew. Anyway, so the Russians were telling the truth. Starting in November 2021, so this is chronological here. So that is before the 2022 February. CIA and MI6 sent messages to their Ukrainian counterparts that Russia was preparing for a full-scale invasion to decapitate the government and install a puppet in Kiev, which I didn't do. They can do it, but what they can do it, I think they can. Who would do the Kremlin's bidding? The intelligence listed the names of the Ukrainian officials whom the Russians planned to kill or capture, as well as Ukrainians whom the Kremlin hoped to put in power. Again, okay. President Zelensky and some of his top advisors appeared unconvinced after the CIA director William Burns traveled to Kiev in January 2022 to brief them. That is, like, threaten them, tell them what the fuck to do. As the Russian invasion approached, CIA and MI6 officers, what the Russians keep saying about the Anglo-Saxons being in charge. Do you see over there Mossad or anything else? Nah, you see CIA, MI6. Why? MI6 was MI6. The British intelligence was involved in Russia a long time ago. A long time ago. This is not the first time. They've been involved more than 100 years over there. The Russians were not involved in London for 100 years. I don't know, maybe they couldn't, but they weren't. These guys were. They were even around Rasputin. Yeah, that guy. Yeah. Go and read something else than these guys are vomiting to you. or to us, on us, about Rasputin and one little British agent around that court. Find out, my friends, read about it. Just giving you hints. All right, made final visits to Kiev with their Ukrainian counterparts. On the MI6 officers, one of the MI6 officers teared up in front of the Ukrainians, fearing that the Russians would kill them. The New York Times reports at the time the old handcuffs were off, and the Biden White House authorized spies agency to provide intelligence support for the lethal operations against Russia forces on Ukrainian soil. The article says, yeah, that means they were conducting the war with these guys' intelligence. That's exactly what the Russians, the lying Russians, were saying. All these were planned by those guys, not by the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians are just the ones that are going to be boom, boom, boom. And they will go, hurrah, boom, and their moms, sisters, children will die, and brothers. The article also quotes a senior Ukrainian officials as saying that in the last one case, the CIA shared intelligence with Ukraine, which helped foil a plot against President Volodymyr Zelensky. This is my conviction. If the Russians want to kill Zelensky, they can. That's my conviction. Okay? I don't know. I have a gut feeling that the Russians could easily destroy his plane and the way he travels. I think they got information, they got the means, but I don't think they want. Because why? To kill him, make a hero out of a comedian or out of a clown, they will replace it with another clown. And the people will unite behind, oh, see those criminals. No, the Russians are not playing for the Western audience. Mostly they play for the rest of the world. The rest of the world, they try to convince we are the good ones and the West is the bad ones. They are planning for them. These guys in the West, if they get it, they get it. Right? If they're not baboons, ignorant, or just living in denial. The ones will get it, but they're not focusing on these guys mostly. They want to win the 150 other states besides the 40 in the grip of the United States of America. That's what they want. They don't fight for, Czech Republic, Germany, France. These are lost. They know that. They are gaining the other ones. They are advertising to the other ones. We are doing this. We're not doing that. They kill our guys. We don't kill their guys. We don't assassinate them. They assassinate them. Daria Dugina. We got whatever is Tatarsky. All these bloggers, media personalities, journalists who are blown up by the Ukrainians. We don't do that. See? Well, anyway. Let's move on. Later, some of the CIA officers were sent to Ukrainian bases. They reviewed lists of potential Russian targets. They'd been doing this for some time. At the beginning of the war, many people, like one of them was retired U.S. Army Colonel McGregor. He said, there are NATO generals over there involved, commanders. Tell these guys what to do. And he was just one of them saying it. There's some other sources saying even more than that, including the Mariupol. If you remember Mariupol with Azovstal, there were some, I think 2 helicopters were able to lift some people from Azovstal. Do you know who those were? Do you know if they were allowed to leave by the Russians? Go and check it out, my friends. All right, and it says here, targets that the Ukrainians were preparing to strike. So they were ready. They reviewed lists, comparing the information that Ukraine, not comparing, they did more than that. Recently, however, with delay on the approval of package, Ukraine intelligence officials, speaking about Burns' visit to Kiev last week, the CIA spokesperson said, we have demonstrated a clear commitment to Ukraine over many years, and this visit was another strong signal that the US commitment will continue. Okay, we knew. And we knew all that. The Russians knew more. They will not say what they know. They will say, I don't know. The same, whatever. I know this Nai is it Ukrainian or Russian. All right, my friends, here it is. Yes, they are involved. As I said many times, I would say they call them foreign advisors, military advisors, being on a territory. I said they are over there. Life will show us patience. Patience, my friends, is still a virtue. They will tell us that there were active troops over there, covert operations conducted by these guys. The volunteers killed by those guys were not volunteers, were actually, as I said many times, It's very possible that the volunteers enter the country as volunteers, but before they enter Ukraine as volunteers from Poland, they are active military from other NATO countries. And they just come as volunteers, and that's it. Everything is clear and nice. Until today, I was an active US military. When I enter Ukraine, I'm not there anymore. I'm not an active US military. I am a volunteer with picture, with clothes, paid here and paid there by the American government from the imbeciles' taxes. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.